The night was dark and silent when the bodies of 6 men were found, their faces twisted in horror, all dead in their beds. My name is Nkoli, and this is a story about how love turned into a quest for revenge. My husband Sunday was the kindest man I ever knew. We lived a simple, happy life in our small village until Sunday fell terribly ill. The doctors said he needed expensive surgery to survive, money we didn't have. Desperate to save him, I approached Sunday's friends and family for help. I pleaded with them with tears streaming down my face. But instead of offering support, they demanded something in return. Each one of them wanted to sleep with me in exchange for paying the hospital costs. I was disgusted and refused them all. My heart broke as I watched Sunday's condition worsen, and eventually, he died. My grief turned to intense anger, and I couldn't shake off the feeling of betrayal. I decided to take matters into my own hands. I sought out a powerful witch doctor named Nkoli, who lived in the village of Ozubulu. She was known for her dark magic and the eerie aura that surrounded her home. I begged her for a way to make the men who had wronged me pay for their actions. Nkoli listened to my story and nodded slowly. She gave me a charm, a small carved wooden figurine that felt cold to the touch. This charm will transfer the wealth of any man you sleep with to you, she explained, but beware, the power comes at a cost. Blinded by my desire for revenge, I didn't care about the consequences. I used the charm as instructed, and one by one, the men who had tried to take advantage of my desperation grew poorer while I amassed their wealth. It felt like justice, seeing them suffer as Sunday and I had suffered. After a night with Obi, his clothing business collapsed. I easily seduced OK, and his car importation business folded. The womanizer Arinzi was too easy to trap. His fleet of transit buses all broke down irreparably, causing his business to fail. Tony lost all his money in a business scam deal after our encounter. The others all suffered financial misfortunes that completely ruined them after visiting my bed. One night as I lay in bed, the air took on an unnatural chill. I felt a presence in the room, and Nkoli appeared before me, her eyes glowing. "You have used the charm well," she said, "but now the debt must be paid." Nkoli's words sent a cold shiver down my spine. I had been so consumed by my quest for revenge that I hadn't even considered the cost. She vanished as quickly as she had appeared, leaving me alone, anxious and confused. The room felt colder, and a sense of dread settled over me. The next day, the village was in an uproar. The bodies of the 6 men were found, their faces twisted in horror, all dead in their beds. The villagers gathered, whispering and pointing fingers. Fear and suspicion spread like wildfire, and I could feel their eyes on me, sensing something was amiss. I tried to go about my day as usual, but everywhere I turned, I saw accusing glances. My wealth, once a source of secret pride, now felt like a heavy burden. I knew it was only a matter of time before the truth would come out. The deaths of the men had caused too much attention, and I could feel the walls closing in around me. That night, I had another visitor. This time, it was the spirit of my dear husband, Sunday. He looked at me with a mix of sorrow and disappointment. "Nkoli, what have you done?" he asked. Tears welled up in my eyes as I tried to explain. "I did it for us, Sunday. They refused to help you and wanted to take advantage of me. I couldn't let them get away with it." Sunday shook his head. "Revenge won't bring me back. Your actions have only brought more pain, misery, and suffering." His words cut deep, and I realized the truth. In my quest for revenge, I had lost sight of what truly mattered. I had become consumed by anger and hatred, and now I was paying the price. The next morning, the village elders called a meeting. They demanded to know the truth about the deaths and the sudden shift in my wealth. I stood before them, my heart beating rapidly, knowing that my time was running out. The villagers watched me closely, their eyes filled with a mix of fear and curiosity. As I prepared to speak, a hush fell over the crowd. I took a deep breath, ready to reveal everything. But then something unexpected happened. The ground beneath us shook and a deep, rumbling sound filled the air. The villagers were shocked and looked around in panic. A dense fog rolled in from the forest, enveloping us. Whispers of ancient spirits echoed through the mist, and I felt a presence looming over us. The elders exchanged worried glances, murmuring prayers under their breaths. They knew this was no ordinary occurrence. It was a sign from the spirits, a warning of impending doom. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the mist. It was Ezinwanyi, the witch doctor who had given me the charm. Her eyes glowed with an eerie intensity as she approached. "Listen closely, people of Agulu," her voice echoing through the fog. "There has been great wrongdoing in your midst and justice must be served." The villagers looked at me, in disbelief and a tinge of suspicion. I stood frozen, unable to speak as Ezinwanyi continued. "This woman," she pointed a finger at me, "has tampered with dark magic for personal gain. The deaths of these men and the sudden wealth she has acquired are not mere coincidences. She sought revenge, but in doing so, she unleashed forces beyond her control." The villagers erupted into murmurs and shouts, their anger and fear visible. I tried to protest, to explain that I had only wanted justice for Sunday, but Ezinwanyi's words carried more weight. Elder Boniface stepped forward. "Nkoli," he said, "is this true?" I hung my head in shame, feeling the weight of guilt and regret. "Yes," I whispered. "I wanted to punish those who wronged us, but I didn't consider nor understand the consequences." Ezinwanyi nodded. "Dark magic always demands a heavy price," she said. "For every life taken, there must be retribution." The fog began to dissipate, revealing the clear night sky above. The villagers looked at me with a mix of sorrow, anger, and disappointment. "To protect our village and honor the spirits," Elder Boniface declared, "Nkoli must face judgment." The villagers gathered around me to prevent my escape. I was led away, bound and surrounded by guards. Ezinwanyi looked on silently. I was brought before the village council, where the elders deliberated my fate. They spoke in hushed tones, discussing the severity of my actions and the consequences for the village. I listened in silence, knowing that I had brought this upon myself. After what felt like an eternity, Elder Boniface stood up. "Nkoli," he began, "you have betrayed the trust of your community and used dark magic for personal gain. Your actions have caused great harm, and for that, you must be punished." The elders sentenced me to exile, banishing me from Agulu forever. They believed that removing me would appease the spirits and protect the village from further harm. I accepted their judgment with a heavy heart, knowing that I had lost everything I held dear. As I walked away from the village in tears, I reflected on the choices I had made. I had sought revenge out of love for Sunday, but in doing so, I had caused even more pain and suffering. My quest for justice had led me down a dark path, one that ultimately destroyed everything I cherished. The moral of this story is that seeking revenge often leads to unintended consequences. It can cloud judgment, cause harm to oneself and others, and ultimately lead to loss and regret. It's important to seek justice through peaceful means and to consider the consequences of our actions on others and ourselves. Join us next time for more great stories on African Folktales TV.